Hello and welcome to another episode of Make Love Real, How to Create More Love in Your Life. I'm your host, Mia Saenz, and I'm excited to share with you Denise Dominguez for many reasons. One, she is a very amazing love person and self-love person, and she works with people on narcissism. And I am a child of a narcissistic mother, so I do honor her work greatly. And so I want to introduce you to Denise. Denise, will you share with us? I know you want to say hi, but will you share with us a little bit about your background and the work that you do?
Absolutely. First, thank you, Mia, so much for having me here. I'm so honored to be here and with your audience and sharing this message of love. So for 22 years, I was in a narcissistic relationship and did not even know it. Because here's the thing about narcissistic abuse. There's no physical or sexual abuse attached to it, so it's very hard to detect. So it involves the emotional and the mental and psychological and even the financial part of it. So for 22 years, I was in this relationship. And when you come, like Mia said, when you come from narcissism, you think this is normal. This is how relationships are, normal behavior, until one day you look at your life and go, holy moly, I'm not happy and this is not happening. So that's a little bit of my background. I left the relationship after 22 years and moved 3 states away with nothing but a futon couch and an air mattress. And that was 2012. And ever since then, I've been rebuilding myself back up, and my life is totally amazing. I'm engaged to be married to the man of my dreams, actually in 5 months.
Yay, congratulations.
Yes,
I knew about it, but congratulations.
Thank you. So life is truly amazing. And my core message to women, Mia, and men is that if I did it, so can you. If I could be in a toxic relationship for 22 years and be molded in that narcissistic way and the people pleaser and the mother energy and all of that, and come out of that, heal from that, and now be in a healthy relationships and actually teach healthy relationships, if I did it, so can you.
That's right. And that's really powerful. What you're going to share today is an experiential experience of what we can see through you and how it connects to us. That's what I love about these conversations, because we don't know what we don't know until we know it, until someone steps forward. And it was interesting. You had a post on Facebook recently about the narcissist, and I commented about my mother being narcissistic and how people just throw the word narcissism around socially, right? So there is a difference. So that's one reason why I'm excited that you're here, because we can throw things out. And yes, we have these selfish tendencies or whatever, but down to the core, narcissism is a specific condition, right?
Yes. It's a personality disorder. So I will say that we all have some type of narcissistic traits within us, okay? And especially if we come from a narcissistic parent. I myself, not only have I come from a narcissistic parent, but then I married one for 22 years. So no doubt that I walked away with some narcissistic tendencies inside of me. Of course, I didn't recognize that in me. I was always pointing the finger at him and, you're this, you're that, and never once looking at myself and going, hold on, wait a minute, you co-created this relationship and you were part of it. And so you pick up these things, you pick up these energies, like we're talking about, right? Everything is energy. And unless you can not only see that in yourself, but embrace that and love that in yourself, then you will keep attracting that in your outside world. So that's the core of what I teach my clients, is how to see the bigger picture of you come from narcissism or you're married to narcissism or whatever it is, and then embrace that part of themselves and love that part of themselves. Because, for me, I was like, I hated that my ex had done X, Y, and Z to us. I hated that he chose drug addiction over us. And I hated that, from my mom, that she was so selfish and self-centered and was never, when I had kids, never was like a grandma, You know, she was always, it was about me and myself and my needs. And so I hated those things about them because I couldn't see them in me. And so once I started to turn things around and see that and embrace that and love those parts of me, then my entire world started to change. And that's when you create healthy relationships, when you embrace the whole, I refer to us, you're going to laugh me out, but I refer to us as an apple pie. And I say this analogy because with an apple pie recipe, there's all these different things that go into the apple pie. Ingredients, thank you. There's a certain amount of flour and there's a certain amount of apples, right? A half a cup of this, a teaspoon of that. And if you take one ingredient out, two things are going to happen to your apple pie. A, it's going to taste like crap, or B, it's going to fold in. It's not even going to cook properly. It's not going to bake properly, right? Same thing with us. If we don't embody and embrace all of us, then we lack something and we may not be able to see it, but it's going to show up in our life, in our outer self, you know, whether that's finances or relationships or you know, whatever it is. Health is another big one. That's another key point, health. But it will always show up in our life somehow, some way. It'll let us know that we need to love all of us the way that we are right now.
You had stated a little bit in the beginning, and I want to share how you were saying this is so important for people to understand on all inner healing. We have to recognize and heal the core center of those spaces, right? To look at it, because if we don't acknowledge it within ourselves, there's no growth there. And guess what, people? It's not easy at first to look at the things that you dislike in someone else. It makes you kind of want to put your hands over your face or something like, oh, that's not me. Well, it is us, isn't it? Until it's not, until we move through it.
Yeah.
But I love that you brought that out, because that's the PowerPoint and the transformational space is the recognition and getting through it. If you want to be a narcissist, that's great. But if you acknowledge that you want to be it and you're aware you want to be it and all the details, but most of humanity that don't have the, you know, that within them, they don't want that. They want to be loving and giving. And that's what I love. Just one second. That's what I love about you and this work, is because you're heart-centered. You bring love into it. It's not just about making people aware of the narcissistic tendencies. It's how to heal them and how to love yourself and love your environment and your experience.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because I was going to say that a narcissist is fully functioning from their ego. They're all ego. There's no heart, like you just said, heart-centered. There's no heart-centered. Now, there's when usually, not always, but I see a lot of empathic people and narcissistic people being attracted to each other. It's like magnet. They're magnetized to each other. And it's because the empath is solely operating from her heart, and she wants to see the good in people, and she wants to save people, and she wants to help. And so she doesn't see the toxic, you know, pieces of this person, or the mean or the abusive parts of this person. They only see the good. And the narcissist that's like a supply. They need that person to, you know, feed them, like the ego, and feed all of, you know, their needs. And so that's why they go together, like I say, peanut butter and jelly, hand in hand. And a lot of empaths will suffer years and years and years of being in this type of relationship, because she keeps trying to save and rescue. Right. And one of the other huge lessons in life is that there's nobody that we can save except for ourselves.
Right. You know, it's interesting you brought up the empath, because our communities are basically spiritually based. And so that's a spiritual quality, ability, essence, and all that. But what most people don't know, I know you know this, is the trauma that we suffer on humanity's level makes us empathic. It's the trauma that opens us up to these things, right? We're more sensitive, our intuition's higher. We are drawn, so we're drawn to these people to heal them because we just want love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's so much more. There's the attachment theories that, you know, that we are, that connect us to people. So recognizing within ourselves that the work has to be done will take us away from the narcissist. And that's what you teach, correct?
Yes, absolutely. My clients, and women in general say to me, I feel like I'm a magnet to narcissists. Like I just keep attracting them. And I share with them, you know, the reason that that's happening is because you're not healing that piece of you. And I'll use myself as an example, because the first time that I had to see this part in me, like you said, like, oh gosh, I don't want to go there. I actually got pissed off. I was like, I am not a narcissist, and I'm not going to claim that. I'm not going to admit to that. Well, the more I was resisting that, the more I was attracting that. And this is how life goes, right? The more we resist anything, not just this, what we're talking about, you can use this analogy in anything in life.
Yes.
The more we resist it, the more we attract it. So it came to a point where I had to like break down, like, Denise, do you want to like heal from this? Do you want to get rid of it? Or do you want to continue to repeat the pattern, the cycle over and over and over again? So finally I was like, okay. And so I was the reluctant, you know, spoiled child going into the doctor's office, kicking and screaming, going, oh.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because when you were sharing that, I could imagine and I could feel it within myself. It's like you want to put on your boxing gloves and say, no, I'm not, I'll fight you on it, right? Kind of thing at first. And then it's like, wait a minute, if we stop to think about it, why is that even coming up for us? There must be some kind of reflection going on there. I'm really glad you brought that up. Can you share with us about healing after this kind of a toxic relationship? Because people also want to know what it feels like on the other side, and you are a prime example.
Well, the first thing I say when you start your healing journey is you have to, so my clients that come to me and the ones that I've had experience with and myself that have attracted narcissism, they are people pleasers. They give to the point of exhaustion. So one of the first things that I say to people when they're coming out of these toxic relationships is, now it's time for you. It's time for you to choose you as a priority. So let's start in baby steps, and let's just start with, do something for yourself every single day that lights you up and makes you happy. A walk in nature, reading your favorite book, having quiet time with your cup of tea, meditate, whatever it is that you love to do it every single day. And then start to get into the habit of choosing you as a priority. So many times, especially as women, we're taught that that's selfishness. If I choose me first, I'm being selfish, and that's wrong. And I can't do that. But we can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what we do when we're giving to everybody else. We're doing to the point of exhaustion. We are pouring from empty cups and, you know, depleting ourselves of our energy and our life. And so that's the first thing that I say is, choose you as a priority. It's not being selfish, it's self-love. Fill your cup up first. You know, the whole analogy with the plane and the oxygen. For many, many, many years, Mia, I was like, how dare they? I would never put it on myself first and then my child. That's crazy talk. Until I got it. Until I realized, like, how good of a mom am I going to be if I'm dead and I can't give my son or daughter the oxygen mask?
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
So it's all about really taking off, you know, clearing out your lenses, your wounded lenses, and clearing them up, and then looking at life, looking at yourself, looking at the relationships that you have around you through clear lenses now. And that's what the healing journey does.
It's a beautiful experience, isn't it?
Oh,
It really
amazing.
is. You know, I love to say to people, the most amazing journey you'll ever go on, you know, seriously, is inward. That is so amazing. We can travel all over the world, and of course we need to, and meet other people, and the expansion of love and all that. But until we look within, we're not going to even benefit from traveling all over the world. We're not going to connect to people in other lands or even recognize their deep, deep, deep value.
Yeah.
So this is a brilliant journey. And, you know, most people are like, well, you know, doing this course and that course, it costs money, but I'm off to Disney World or I'm off to Mexico. Yeah, you are. And I hope you really enjoy it, because there's not that level of that enjoyment, right? Because we're triggered in life all the time, especially if you're dealing with people that trigger you who are narcissistic. You're going to be running into somebody at Disney World who, you know, you come across, bam, and you're triggered. Life triggers us. So when we do the work and we get it done, then we can go forward and do those other things with so much more grace and experience and knowledge and empowerment that life is beautiful. I love that.
Or you're going to Disney World with the narcissist.
Not anymore, because they've moved out of it. They kicked the narcissist to the curb. No narcissists at Disney World. That's awesome. So how did you, I know that we talked about your for your journey of moving, you know, how do you move people to the other side? What's some good, give us one good tool.
So
feel you.
I like to show them like the bigger picture, and I always use myself as an example, because 22 years is a long time. We have 2 children together. It's a long time. And so I share with them like the way I was, the way I was a people pleaser, the way I bowed down to his needs and everything was about him, the way I lost my identity in that relationship. And I'm not blaming him for any of this. This was all my doing. I chose to stay in the relationship. I chose to introduce myself as his wife and their mom and not claiming myself, right? I chose all of those things. So I will always use myself as an example of 22 years of who I was up until the moment that I finally had the courage to leave. And that was a lot of, you know, stepping stones to even do that, because, you know, in relationships, when we leave, there's a lot of thought behind that, you know, a lot of thought before we actually do it. And for me, there was years and years and years of, I'm going to leave, but I never did it because I was too scared. What's going to happen? How am I going to make it on my own? Where are we going to live? You know, all these fearful, egotistical thoughts came into my head that I wouldn't be able to do it, because a big part of being stuck in these narcissistic relationships is I'm not enough, right? And I'm not worthy of having the life that I truly dream of. And so all of those fear-based thoughts were holding me back. Yeah. So I share with them who I was to transitioning to who I am now and the life that I have now. And kind of like an example, like to show them, like, again, if I did it, so can you. I left with a futon couch and an air mattress. Like, I literally left with nothing. I didn't ask anything when I divorced him. In fact, I did my divorce very, very quietly, because I didn't ask for anything. Our kids were already grown. There was no properties to share or anything. And I had already decided, like, I don't want anything from him. I literally want to cut the umbilical cord from this energy, from this past. And that was super freeing to do. So I really just show them like where I was to where I am now, and that I'm no different. This is something else that I say. I'm no different than you. We're just different versions of each other. So I tell my clients, I say, I am the future version of you and you are the past version of me. That is the only difference between you and I. We are connected. We are the same. We are one. That is the only difference, is that you are the past of me and I am the future of you. So
it's like a course, isn't it? It's like you open the book. So they're at page 1 and you're at page 95. I mean, or 395, right?
There you go.
You're
Perfect.
at the end, right? Because it's about them just entering into this brand new space and you're on the other side. And you know, I know that people watching, all kinds of you lovely people are watching with all sorts of stuff going on. And so it just came to me to say this, that if you are on the way out, because when I left my first husband of 27 years, I didn't take anything at all. And I did order a air mattress. That was my first piece of furniture. And so don't be afraid to leave your stuff. The abundance is so there. Now with Amazon, when Denise and I both left our mates, our first husbands, we had to take, you know, that kind of, I ordered mine, but she had to take her couch and her air mattress because Amazon wasn't as fast as it is today. So, you know, it's everything's doable. Step outside the box, claim your life. And we're not telling you to leave people. Be clear. Call Denise for a discovery session. Call anybody for support. Don't just be stuck in that situation. Denise,
Yeah.
we're almost out of time. So before you share your free, well, actually share your free gift, and then I'm going to have you share something else that I didn't even ask you.
So my free gift is 5 steps to finding true love after toxic love. And what your guests will get, it comes in a PDF form, and they can print it up if they like. It looks like this if they print it up.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and it just goes through like the things, you know, I ask you empowering questions in the PDF that maybe you wouldn't ask yourself or somebody else wouldn't ask you, in order for you to really give thought to the next step in your life. So it's going to be about self-love. It's going to be about forgiving. It's going to be about truth and trust. So that is the free gift. It is a PDF form of 5 steps to healing after toxic love.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So before we say goodbye to everybody, share with us what's on your heart right now that you want known out there in the world.
Ooh, so juicy. Really just the self-love piece. That's the biggest piece that is lacking when we are in these toxic relationships, is that we don't love ourselves. And that is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. And the other thing is that just to know that you don't have to work so hard to love yourself. You were born loving. You were born trusting and forgiving. This is not something that you have to learn fresh and new. You just have to peel back the layers to get to who you really are. So that's the biggest piece I would say, is just love yourself.
I love that, because you are love. That's absolutely true. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Mia.
And I know the audience will be very supported by this. It's beautiful. And so in the work that you guys have, and on the end of this video, check out her website and see what she's all about. Thank you for joining us. Yes, thank you for joining us for another episode of Make Love Real, and we'll see you soon.